It's hard to believe, but it's the start of a new month already in 2024. We're saying goodbye to January and saying hello to the month of love. Hello, my Valentines. Mwah, 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 mwah. Perhaps it's still too early, but with everything going on around us today, love is what we need, and love is what we've got to give you right here on Jasiri. Good morning on February the 1st, 2024. I'm Tolulokwe Adeleru Balogun, because they were making fun of me.
I'm not the one laughing this morning, it's us laughing. But bienvenue. We're keeping it real, we're keeping it hot, and we're keeping it fresh this morning, like white rice and stew. I can't believe that Jasiri will clock 1 month in a few days, guys. Time really flies when you're having fun. I've been loving this week. The conversations have been fire.
Anyway, it's no thanks to you as usual. We bring the fire as usual, but you're more like, we bring the fire, as I was saying, and you're like more like water, raining on my parade. And it's so nice that I have umbrella, and it has no holes, so I'm totally good. Yeah, it's a month of love, but love is not just about faffing around. Catherine.
You're the one who put them beside each other, right?
Lolo Nawa for you. Because I feel like every day she wakes up, she just thinks of new ways to bring down cats.
Thank you.
And it's a month of love, Lolo, so something must change. Can I smell like a girls' hangout or something this Friday to break the ice?
To placate Lolo, perhaps.
Can I give you my list? Because you know, I have very specific things that must be checked off for that weekend to be a weekend.
God.
But we got it.
We'll
Sushi Lolo.
plan
Sushi
for the two
Lolo.
of you.
Sushi, yes.
Are you a sushi
Namaste.
Namaste.
I love
Captain, some
sushi.
colorful drinks that have umbrellas, that have some ice, that get shaken and served. You see?
I don't want to say this as people that should belong to that something anonymous.
It's only people that know you that can shade you.
Totally.
That one hits 1-0 Lolo.
Yeah.
Don't add me to this fight. Don't add me.
It's okay. I can take it. I'm big enough.
Well, okay, we've heard. While we're able to get some laughter and a bit of lightheartedness, that's the English I'm looking for, out of this conversation. Unfortunately, a lot of the situations in Nigeria right now are not as lighthearted. And as we get down to business, we have an update for you on the school children and the teachers that were abducted in Ekiti State earlier this week. What we now know is that the school bus carrying 25 children was attacked between 3:30 and 4 p.m. on Monday. Narrating the incident in an interview, the principal said that the gunmen shot at the tires, instructing the children, to disembark and lie on the ground. They then selected 5 students and 4 staff members before allowing the others to leave. And now the kidnappers are demanding a 100 million naira ransom. 100. Is this just not the fact that we have foiled payments of ransom with no blame to families, because a family member will do every single thing they can. No blame to families, but a government that has continued to not most times find these people, hold them accountable, take them to court, make sure that the long and strong arm of the law does its job. And you know, it's rampant everywhere now.
Now that it's children, it's very alarming. It's very disheartening.
But these are not the first children.
It's not the first children. It's not the first time. It's like kidnapping has become a business.
Okay, so kidnapping goes across board now. Mothers, fathers, men, women, children,
babies, pregnant women.
Yeah. When we're talking about this thing behind the scenes, the first question I asked was it something targeted? Was it something about these particular children, or they were chosen randomly, or the school itself? What is it about the school? The bus even looked, Lola even said that.
I doubt it. It's just a random bus. It's not like even a designated school bus. So I want to believe that it's not even a grade A school.
That's what I'm saying.
That you said, maybe there are children of prominent Nigerians or something in it. Where do you want these parents to find 100 million?
It's the way the money goes.
So I don't think the kidnappers are necessarily looking to the parents, because we're doing GoFundMe. People are donating money. They expect, especially with children, people are going to come out and say, let us help you get your children back.
That is what I'm saying. Once we negotiate with terrorists, with people, bandits, with kidnappers, it becomes a norm. Yeah. If they've seen some other kidnappers cash out Why would you tell them not to cash out?
So
His
my
ministers and even prominent people are donating. So that means
I was
we're
going to say which minister or ex-minister is going to pay for this one
Yes,
next.
so-
That's what I was going to
So all the movies
ask.
we have been watching on the internet and all of that, where we watch don't negotiate with terrorists and all that, do we not learn one or two things from there, or are these kidnappers now taking a leaf, borrowing a leaf off of these?
So I think it's beyond even less. Are we taking a leaf? Can we not take a leaf from there? My own thing is, are you saying that our intelligence agencies are not sophisticated enough?
No,
they don't
please.
have the kind of they don't have the sophistication of technology or drones.
No,
they
please.
can't make the money traceable.
Let's
They
even
can't-
not
they
go
can't-
there.
I'm
Don't
not
go
saying
there. It's
you
not
have
just
to go
about
there.
that.
It seems like Bookie has watched too many Hollywood movies. I won't even say Nollywood.
No, okay.
I bring it. Tolu, you can't expect it because it's Amotekun we are using. Traditional and vigilante.
But why? You need to go back. Wait, but Lolo, you need to go back to why some of these states have Amotekun. Why?
Yes,
Because
that is why-
they feel like the
Yes.
federal government that has the budget for
Don't
security
you get it? That
is
is
the one that has failed.
I responded to Bookie because I say we are using Amotekun. That means we are using local intelligence. We're still asking Ifa where these children are. You know all those things. We are going traditionally. So it might take a little time for our Rumole to answer us.
But it's a disgrace. It is nothing short of
not
a
funny,
disgrace.
but
But
it's
we do not
that
go
is
2
what
days in this
we are
country
used
now
to in
without
the
an attack,
country.
without a kidnapping,
Yes.
without some form of violence. It is an absolute disgrace, and we need to call it out for what it is.
Yeah, but we've been calling it out since. Bookie has asked, is it that our intelligence now, they went to night school, that they don't know how to do this work?
When I keep
Or is
telling
it that
you,
now
you are
kidnappers
speaking
have upped
English.
the
You
ante?
say Amotekun is even doing better than our
No, because
security
since we
people.
go spiritual
And Amotekun
in this
are using
country.
Igba. They are using Igba there. Have you what they call it?
Slingshot to take down the lion. Catapult,
Honestly,
slingshot.
it just feels as if we're taking 2 steps forward, 100 steps backward.
Because if we are relying on what Lolo has said, though she went traditional and the native way, everybody has their own. You know, if we're going traditional, since we are very spiritual in the country, if we push them to shove,
You can't add prayer to it. Why?
Prayer.
Because your people are just now telling us that they have found some religious bodies that are siphoning, laundering money for terrorists. But so what prayer are you going to?
No, let's go to the one. Lolo, call it again.
That one. Let's go and find them. They need to come back into
And
play.
let's know where the children
Are we still afraid? Are we still afraid of our traditional gods like we were before?
No.
What does
Why
traditional gods have to do with this?
No,
one?
if you want to call it fire, you want to call on
No,
all of them.
because
We're no longer afraid of them. It seems
and the government
nothing is
isn't
working.
giving us what we want. Let's go back to how were we surviving even before. Let's not go to before the new age, before the new age of Christianity and all of that.
Before
How were we?
police and before like the organized police and the organized
Security
security
structure,
structure, every community, every
Had
community
their own.
had their own warriors. They had their own people that were
Community
safeguarding,
police.
Community police. I think that's something that
That
we
is
need
what
to bring back
Amotekun is
as
supposed
well.
to be, which is just supposed to be an addition to what is being done.
being provided by
Honestly,
the state
every
and by the federal government.
Every time we take these things with kid gloves.
Yes, we
We're
do.
going to keep
That's why
talking
we are
about
here.
it on these tables. We're going to keep screaming about it, but nothing is going to be done. We were here
we hope
on
that
this
something
show
will be
when we
done.
reported how Nabia was killed
And how our first lady said it was prayers.
and it's so,
I'll
what
take us
are
back
you
there.
expecting? Everybody just has to keep thinking of
No, but Rome
how
wasn't
to
built
save
in a day.
themselves.
We're just hoping that one day, as we keep talking about it, one day it will enter one ear and stay there, not come out the other ear.
You know, I almost
But
sang
you know,
that
this whole
song.
thing is porous, though. It's really porous, and
You're said to have over 1,000 plus illegal entryways into your
this country. What are we saying?
What are we saying?
They'll tell you that those people that are, you know, those headsmen that we feared for a couple of years, that they're just terrorizing everyone. They'll say they are from neighboring countries. I know they are
how
not
do they
flying
get- how do they
into
get
the
into the country?
Those are the things. Tolu, this is a scary situation.
It is.
Because imagine if a superpower takes advantage of these lapses. What do you think is going to happen to us?
Well, let's put that in the coolers for now. It is something that is continuing to develop around us in the country. But in other news, there's another side to Japa that people don't consider: deportation. Now, while I am all up for finding greener pastures, but let's do so legally. Aside from the risks to life, getting caught in a country you have no legal standing to be in could upend not just your life, but the lives of those who depend on you.
Anyway, we all know that Libya has become a key departure point in North Africa's Mediterranean coast for migrants, mainly from the parts of Africa, who risk their lives on dangerous sea voyages in hopes of reaching Europe. Many who get stranded in the country are exposed to trafficking and different forms of abuse. Undocumented migrants are taking advantage of the very most.
According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, there are more than 700,000 migrants in Libya. In 2015, a voluntary humanitarian return scheme was established to arrange and finance travel for migrants and asylum seekers in Libya wishing to leave for their respective home countries. Now, last year, 9,370 people left under the program. In 2022, that figure was 11,200. This week, 320 men, women, and children were deported from Libya back to Nigeria. I say it's Operation Stay in Your Country this 2024.
They will not hear you.
No.
Legal, illegal,
No,
whatever way it may be,
don't.
they will not hear.
They won't
Nigeria is not conducive, and by hook or by crook, people are trying to find their way out of this country.
Honestly, what would
illegal way of moving may not be for us, may not be for another segment of the population, but for some people, any which way out is the way out.
They're risking everything. And it's not people are selling land, home, people are selling, maybe even selling part of themselves so that they can get out.
You know, the problem is when you go.
It's not, when you go, what are you going
You've
to?
not even reached, you've not reached your final destination. And then you're intercepted on the way and you're sent back voluntarily or involuntarily. Voluntarily means that, let me speak it in pidgin so we get the idea. Voluntary means that you don't go far small. You see a CB, you say, I no go fit. Let me, it's like I will go back to the devil that I know.
No, but then sometimes they get stuck. Either they get stuck on the sea,
That's why I say
or they get stuck in the country that they are using to go out.
You know,
and then they then become vulnerable to attacks. They become vulnerable to trafficking. They become vulnerable to abuse.
Just because,
you know, the thing is, whether we like it or not, Africa, we're still acting like that on the underdeveloped world that the West think that we are.
That dark continent.
That dark continent.
Where
that they actually think that we're still sleeping on trees. And you know,
we don't listen to Spotify.
This false hope. You know, there's this false hope that is painted that, just cross to this side and everything is going to be okay. So many of them leave from nothing, hoping to get to something, not knowing that there is nothing.
Even sometimes worse than nothing.
Even
because
worse than
as
nothing.
Vicky spoke about, the trafficking is rife, especially for women and girls.
Children.
They end up a lot of times in Italy. Italy is one of the places where you can find a lot of immigrants, migrants in this situation, particularly Nigerian women who are on the streets put into prostitution by not just local Italian gangs, but Nigerian gangs.
Of course.
the context and the connecting the dots from Nigeria to Italy involving some local gangs and organizations in Nigeria
with her
is
babies.
massive.
Just look at that woman with her baby.
With her children. And it's like, when you come back here, what are you coming, when you...
So let's talk about that coming back. So, I said earlier, I think it was sometime last week, that even now, there are people who are coming back after they've gone legally.
Yes.
Did you see that video of the young boy who told his mom he doesn't like Canada, it's too cold, I want to go home, I miss my friends. There are adults who feel that when they're coming home, but they're coming back feeling shame.
Yes.
So they come back and they don't want to tell anybody. They come back quietly. Maybe they try to come back to another part of the country.
And they come back, they don't want to ask for help.
They don't want to ask for help.
They made all that noise.
Imagine someone, I know a family that sold their property.
Everything.
And right now their marriage have crashed because the husband was like a director in a bank. They went abroad and things are just not working. The man wants to come home, the woman wants to stay there.
How many kids?
they have 3 kids.
And maybe you'll be surprised that the woman wants to stay there because she cannot deal with the shame. And that's why when we talk about the psyche, what does it do to the psyche when they're deported, voluntarily or involuntarily?
Yeah.
If you decide that you want to come back on your own, that's different. What Lola said, for example, is something we should consider. One of the partners wants to come back.
Yeah.
The other wants to stay there. How can a marriage function that way?
That way.
So the man who was working in a bank may want to come back. Director level might decide he wants to come back, but how can that marriage thrive moving forward?
He might not even get back his job.
No.
Because sometimes, you know, in some professions, once you have years of disconnect, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Especially when you're above 50. I hear in the banking industry that once you're above 50, you know, and you haven't been in the country for a little while or in the banking sector. So that means
it becomes
he will
difficult
go
for
back.
you to come back.
So
or
he
you
can't
start
get
at
the
a lower.
prominence that he
that's why
had.
the man is
So
pushing
shame
to.
that Tolu said, why
It's a
would
big
shame be
factor.
an option? You want to come and work in a microfinance bank where you were director of a commercial bank?
And now put you in front of counselor to start
Of
over.
course.
That's if you get the job.
That's if you get the
Because
job.
don't forget, you're coming back and you're putting
there's
yourself
more
back into a market
competition.
that has less jobs and a lot more
And a
people
lot
for
more
almost
people.
every single job. You're looking at
Yeah.
5 to 6, maybe even 10 people who are looking for that
Looking for
job.
the same job.
You know, you see newspaper clippings and sometimes people are saying that they've advertised for maybe 10 positions and they're getting over 1,000 applications.
Yeah.
You're not coming back into
The
that
job
pool.
market, it's really difficult, you know. I came back about 11 years ago, and people keep asking me like, why did you come back?
I
Why
that
are you
question.
here? Won't you go? Two years ago, and a lot of my friends have left the country in the last 2 years.
Don't talk about mine.
And they're like, well, Buki,
What are you doing?
You don't have a problem. You can be anywhere you like in this one. And I'm like, I've been there. I lived there. There's a reason I came back, you know. All the best to you. I wish you all the best, whatever. But I think now that, you know, even the thought of even leaving, you know, I'm like thinking all the strides I've made whilst I'm here.
I want to go and start over.
I want to go and start all over.
And some of us don't even have your accent. Look at you and Tolu now. If you enter America, they're just, Tolu's just gonna go, peculiar.
Like, you know,
I keep saying, come again? I mean that I want to work.
What I said was,
what I said.
When they say come again, say,
don't even go there. You are still a foreign tongue.
No.
Because you can decide to French it up.
It's okay.
What am I to do?
It's okay, Lolo. I think we needed that to end this conversation because it's difficult. And I think what people are now doing is that even when they're looking to get attached, Japa, your thoughts around Japa are becoming a criteria for whether or not you will get married. So Nigerians, we're entering a different realm with this situation now.
It's taking a different perspective and it's just going. There's no stopping this train.
There isn't.
It's interesting, but listen, this is something that we will continue to talk about because the Japa-ness, Japa movement is something that's ongoing.
But it always reminds me of Sound Sultan's song.
No matter how difficult they try to make it.
No matter how where you go, no forget area.
It was a sweet song.
He was a prophet with that song.
We say when outside is hot.
Come back home.
We gotta move, ladies. There are so many stories, and it's really impossible for us to touch on everything, but we will try to highlight the important ones to spark conversations and also hopefully help you make better informed decisions and hopefully provide some smiles. Now, in the aftermath of the data breach scandal involving a worker at a JAMB registration center, we're bringing in a data protection and cybersecurity expert to discuss how we can safeguard our data online and protect children's privacy from criminal misconduct. That's coming up next after the break.
Welcome back to Jasiri. Remember, we're streaming live on social media across all our platforms. So if you're not on the move, if you're on the move, not on the move. If you're on the move and you cannot watch us on DSTV channel 422 or Star Times on 274, it's okay. You can still be part of the conversation on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Just make sure to use the hashtag Jasiri so we know you're watching and you're listening.
And if you've been following the news by now, you've heard of Iphie Ajike, the mother who called out JAMB for data breach when a 22-year-old man accessed her daughter's details at a registration center and proceeded to contact a 15-year-old daughter in what was described as a grooming exercise. Iphie was with us on Jasiri yesterday, and for an exclusive on that particular story. If you missed that conversation, please carry yourself to YouTube and watch it. She also granted no other interviews since all this has started, so this is purely exclusive to us.
So today, it's time to bring in the experts because we have questions. And incidentally, January 28th is was Data Protection Day. There is globally recognized international law established by the Council of Europe's Convention 108 governing individuals' right to protection of their personal data. The theme this year is Take Control of Your Data. You will be shocked to know just how vulnerable we are at the hands of the people and organizations we entrust with our personal information.
And so joining us now to discuss data protection and cybersecurity is our consultant, Todayy Olaye. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Oh, I like the way she said that.
So I know that she's doing that because she was here our conversation. Ada, we didn't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. I said, I've been enjoying the conversations. I've been having a good laugh here.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, maybe we should jump right into it.
Yes.
And let's just even start from the most controversial story, the one that everybody is still talking about, the JAMB story. What are your thoughts on that particular incident, that recently occurred? I'm sure you've been following this story.
Oh, yes. And I think it's high time we address issues like this, because one of the things that I have taken note of as a privacy consultant is that with respect to privacy rights for children, there's really not, we're playing catch up. There's really not much being done in ensuring that we secure the kids while they're online. Let me give you a simple example. In more advanced countries, it is anticipated that when you have a product or service that's easily accessible online, that there are certain parameters you put in place to ensure that kids are not able to log into those kind of platforms, or even when they log in, they need parental consent. Do we have organizations here in Nigeria who take those kind of measures? Not necessarily. So this is the time for us to have conversations around child privacy rights. And one of the concerns I had, I was happy to hear that JAMB was quite responsive.
Yes.
And they had, a quick comeback to her complaints that she had lodged. I think she said she had sent them a message on Twitter. Now, the thing is this, any organization that accesses personal data must have a privacy policy. And that privacy policy should be on your website. And that privacy policy should also provide information on how you can make complaints or basically contact anyone in the event of either a breach or any concerns you have around your data security. I had a quick look at the JAMB website. There isn't a privacy policy available there. So there are certain standards that we're expecting organizations and businesses here in Nigeria to meet up with that is still lacking. But I mean, it's still a very new industry. And then we hope that issues like this will now throw the light on what it is that people need to be doing and what people need to expect when it comes to the protection of their rights.
Okay, Ada, let's address child privacy in a little bit. But let's go back to the basics. What type of data is considered personal?
Okay, so personal data includes basically anything that can identify you, to be honest. Includes your telephone number, your name, your address, your biometric data, includes information on your ethnicity, your sexual preferences, your medical records. So anything that automatically, when someone looks at that body of information, can steer them in the direction of who owns this data or who owns this information. So that is personal data.
Okay, so anything that's able to identify you online.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to know, because we know that every action precipitates a reaction, and in other words, there's something we may have done knowingly or even unknowingly to expose our personal information to hackers and even possible breach. What do you think in terms of Nigeria? And as you said, this is still very much a growing sector, a growing industry that we're all learning about. What is it that we've maybe been doing wrong as Nigerians? Is it about scanning barcodes on our personal private phones? You know, when you go to the restaurants and they tell you our menu is online, accepting cookies anyhow, not reading the fine print and data protection, just saying I agree, because who has time?
Yes.
Oh, digital literacy. What is it? What have we been doing wrong that we should be changing, especially in 2024?
Okay, so I mean, first and foremost, it's very important for you to read the terms of use for the application or the website that you're going on. What does it say when it concerns access to your data? How do they want to use your data? If they say to you they're collecting the information with respect to marketing, for a marketing exercise, it's possible that they have third-party, business partners who they may have to share that information with as well to basically continue that relationship with you. Is that information readily available on the website? Are you aware that your information is going to leave one platform, for example, and then be shared with a third party? Now, when you reference the barcodes is just one of those things that I have a major issue with, because there is a lot of data to show that, first and foremost, these barcodes are generated by organizations, meaning that there's someone at the back end who has access to this data. When you generate a barcode, that information is hosted somewhere. And that information can be made easily accessible to a third party who has maybe, ulterior motives or foul intentions. So for me personally, scanning barcodes is one of the biggest risks you can take while you are online. The information that is collected at that material time when you scan the barcode was probably because you wanted to have lunch at a restaurant and then check out the menu. But that data, that access to that information remains on your phone. And if someone backend decides to tap into it, they have access to all the information you put in, your telephone number, possibly if you're making payments online as well via that same platform, they have access to that as well.
Why are you trying to scare us?
Exactly.
I listen to her like this and I'm beginning to hold myself
When
down.
I was speaking with her yesterday, I'm like, I'm in bridge. I was like, and I want to, you see, this idea of we don't even understand what it is that we're doing wrong. And I want to come to one of the big things now, fintechs.
Yes.
All this mobile money that is requesting your BVN, your NIN, your telephone number, all these loan companies. Before I even go to this comment, there are times when I get calls or messages from some of these loan companies saying that this person has collected money from me.
They not call them thieves.
Yes. And I'm like, why are you reaching out to me? How do you have my contact? Because when you sign up to those things, they give you give them access to your entire contacts.
Yes.
Wow.
So now going to this fintech and this other, when we're talking, there's a current one of these fintech companies now. CBN recently sanctioned because they have a backdoor policy that enables them to create an account for every registered phone number. Adobe, please take us through this, because I think you can explain it the best. Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to be calling the names of the organizations, but we are aware that fintechs, so you have your telephone number. Essentially, these fintechs have access to that telephone number back end to create a pocket, which is the account that money can go in and out from. Now, the scary thing is this: they don't need your approval to create the pocket.
What?
They just need your approval to access and download when you want to actually use that account. So what has happened in the past was we had several cases where individuals reported. Okay, so let me give a simple example. Someone wanted to pay someone in one of the apps or one particular organization and just said, okay, you know what, transfer the money to me. And the person didn't hear what they said and then said, okay, let me transfer it to one of these fintech applications. And the money actually went, because there's a pocket where that money is going to be received behind that information that you have provided, which is your telephone number.
Wow, that's just so easy.
It's actually one of the most porous industries that we have presently. And I do know that the regulator is working, tirelessly to, focus on creating some kind of control measures in that space. But we're discovering that there's so many lapses that weren't considered before these apps went into the market.
Yeah. And you know that we've been talking, just as you were talking, I'm thinking about laws. There's so many things that are becoming new. That in the space, we might have an omnibus law, but the specificity to these particular things are becoming a little ambiguous. So how do we enforce? Because we've seen a lot of issues in recent times where enforceability is impossible because they can't hold this fintech company. So there's so many gaps to fill. So we that are even the subjects, how do we take control? Because you just told us something, but I just
scan the barcode.
It's so cute.
Scan the barcode.
Yeah, I want to see what's on the menu.
So how
I'm
do
not doing
we,
that again.
the subject, take control?
Some people don't have paper menus
at least
anymore.
to protect ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, the first practical example, for example, with these new age restaurants that you go to that require you to scan barcodes, they do have, systems themselves that they can actually provide you to actually access that information. Where they don't have the interface, you can ask one of the staff there to actually use their own devices to do it. You're not put under any pressure to actually access those things, but because it just looks very, posh, and the in thing to do. You just want to follow the crowd and then just go ahead and just sign up and then give them access to your data. So I mean that's one thing when it comes to when you're outdoors. But essentially, I think what Nigerians need to do is take matters into their own hands. A simple example is this: you walk into an environment where they're collecting your information, possibly at the maybe let's work with the online platforms. You want to access an application and they're asking you for, just a myriad of information, your name, your address, telephone number. And that information is supposed to be used for one specific purpose. It is now you as an individual that needs to take into consideration that if you are reached out to for any other purpose outside what was actually indicated at the get-go, this is a ground for infringement of your privacy rights. Wow. So, we have to understand that when we give out this information, we're not just giving it out and just not expecting some level of or duty of care from the organizations we provide this information to. So we must constantly make a move and ask questions. Now, I think I referenced the terms of use earlier on. When it concerns applications, you need to check through their terms of use to see how this information is going to be applied, whether now or in the future. And then also, if the information is going to be held in perpetuity, which essentially outside, people who provide you information around your pensions, they shouldn't. There's a limit to how long someone can collect and store your data. There is by law.
Okay, I want to come in here because this conversation we're having is also being had in the U.S. Yesterday, the leaders of, I think X, it was Meta as well as TikTok, had to face the U.S. Senate when it came to how their apps and how their platforms are either engaging with children, harming people. We know that the New York City mayor last week said, first city in the world to declare that social media is actually a health hazard. So let's come back to our children because they are the most vulnerable here. We've seen grooming situations. There was an extraordinary story that came out of the US, I think in December of last year. They actually had him kidnap himself via phone because he had sent pictures to them. It's just a long story, but there is so much danger online and we need to protect our children's privacy, especially even for their future. But we can't control everything that they do. We can try, but that inquisitive mind, the technology that's very easy for them, it's simple. So you did mention an incident involving minors sharing nude photos via an online data storage platform. What's that story? And you talked about duty of care. What's the duty of care that we need to expect from organizations that are culpable? And as parents, guardians, even society, as we wrap this conversation up, what do we need to do better?
Okay, so I mean, I'll first and foremost reference the issue with the minor. So what happened was one of these applications online that essentially is able to store information and create, very short links to share, massive data, because I'm choosing not, because it's a matter of litigation at the moment. So they essentially had children have access to that particular platform. A 13-year-old girl sent pictures of herself to a fellow 13-year-old boy, and he took these pictures and created a link on that platform and to share this thing out on social media across the platforms that they use. Within minutes, I think this thing had gotten to about 300,000 hits, and it was until we wrote to that specific provider that they took it down. My concern was this is an international entity, and they should essentially have those measures and tools in place that can monitor the people they have online and can also determine age, appropriate content. The amount of hits that was, essentially hit that particular link within the short period of time should have been enough of an indication to take that particular link down. But until we wrote them, there was no one doing nothing about it. So it's actually scary how easily kids can have access to harmful content, or that are able to connect with harmful content that is actually dangerous to their future. So that information, essentially, some young people have screenshotted a couple of those pictures, and that information is actually available out on the internet, to be honest. Outside the fact that we took down the link, we still had issues of where people kept on, from time to time popping up and then posting the screenshotted content that they had access to. So this is one of a few of the areas where we need to take adequate, care as to what we as individuals need to do as parents, one, and then secondly, also put pressure on the organizations, on the government, and then, on the legislative authorities to say we need stiffer laws, stiffer penalties for people who actually breach the laws, and then essentially more control around how our children are being managed online.
Wow. Like I said, I spoke with her yesterday, and this is exactly how I left the conversation. I was gobsmacked. I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Can I start backtracking to other places? I've scanned barcode, I've dropped number. I'm being very careful about, things like cookies. I always check. I always go and do the preferences. Like,
we always are in a hurry.
Yes.
And when we click terms of use or agree, we just agree to everything.
Open some apps, they give you option, open, I'll just say open only while on this app.
Yes.
I won't just say keep.
But there's no way to totally. You can only be as careful as possible. But there are still back ends. And anyway, I think this conversation is much larger than this, to be honest.
Just to add, I was going to say something which is
very quickly, please.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
One of the things that we anticipate will happen in the next couple of years, months, especially with the move from continent to continent, is that people who are moving from, more where the data privacy regulations are more lax will have issues when they move to, countries where the data enforcement is, much stricter. The simple case at hand is Canada, for example. Canada takes the issue of cyberbullying very seriously. You have a situation where, young kids are involved in cyberbullying. They can be expelled from school. They can actually, go to juvenile detention as well. So these are the things that we need to educate ourselves as individuals, as parents, and then ultimately also educate our children. The online space is not, just a walk in the park. It's something that the same way we have security in our homes, the same way we have security in our offices, the same way we have to provide different levels of, control measures around the way we live our lives, is the same way we must operate online as well.
Wow, I totally agree. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the same way we must also enforce these and secure ourselves online. Thank you so much, Adobe Olaye, for your time. Our message hasn't changed from yesterday. Shine your eye. Shine your eye, because we must take our personal responsibility. You know, we must make it our personal responsibility. Know your rights, know what you are supposed to be looking out for, know how to hold these platforms accountable, you know, and how to push back against these harmful practices. And for me, ignorance is not bliss.
It is not.
So we don't want to be saying shoulda, woulda, coulda in 2024. Anyway, time for another quick break. When we come back from this, it is Hot Topics.
The song is always making me want to. It gives you that little bit of salsa. You know. Hi.
Wow.
Chest. Lolo, 2-0. You didn't hear, but I heard. Now, the Anambra State government has arrested a 38-year-old woman for attempting to sell her 9-year-old and 7-year-old sons for, wait for it, 1 million naira each. It was the Commissioner for Women and Social Welfare in the state, Iphie Ajike, who said that she heard about the sale and decided to pose as the buyer. So it was the commissioner that posed as the buyer.
Wow.
So while speaking to newsmen, Obinabo said that the suspect told her she wanted to sell the boys at the sum of 2 million naira, but after serious negotiations, she settled to sell the two for 1.8 million naira. When the woman spoke, she said she decided to sell the two boys because of economic hardship. She has 11 children, but could not afford to cater, Catherine's face, but could not afford to cater for them, and that's why she decided to sell two. She disclosed she only tried it after her neighbor successfully sold one of her kids. She wanted to use the money to do business alongside her eldest daughter, and some of the money would also be used for the daughter's tertiary education. Now, the other kids have been taken into state custody, and the eldest daughter, 17, has also been arrested. People, help me count. Her eldest daughter is 17. She has 11 children.
My sister. So that's like
one for her late husband and two for the late husband,
and then the others for different people. I don't think you guys have ever been really this quiet.
No.
I read it and this is how I was.
I'm sorry, I have to say it in English. You're twisting.
I cannot for the life of me understand how you know you will not be able to take care of these children. But you just they born them, they go.
Hey, but do you know that most of the people that have multiple children are usually poor people? You know,
they spend all
because you're not making money, you should be making babies.
They don't have any. They are not economically viable.
So if you're not economically viable, lock downstairs.
Always available.
But
these people have no education. It's an escape.
See, I'm looking at the three of you. It's an escape. What does your country say about family planning? How easy is it for many women sometimes to access family planning? How easy is it?
Okay.
Are you saying that
there's
no access to family planning?
I'm saying that access to family planning is very, very difficult. You will get to some hospitals and they'll tell you as a married woman that you need to go and bring your husband.
Leave hospital.
That's even
leave family planning.
Actually, family planning.
Yes. No. Let's take it back. You know, today I'm going all the way back. Let's take it back to our time, our great-grandparents' time. Did they have family planning? How were they doing it?
How many children did they have?
No, they were having children because they used them for like farming and
manual labor
to make their lives a little comfortable. At least most of those.
How did they arrange themselves in such a way?
They farmed,
did not,
and they were able to feed their family with their farming
and the proceeds of the farming.
But the times have changed.
11
Look at this woman. She's like,
I'm not even sure this woman is 40 or something. I think she's 30. I can't remember. I think
so
she might be 30.
Life has gone through her. Life has gone through her. I mean,
she's smiling here.
She's even smiling.
Yes, I'm not sure she actually understands the gravity of what she's done.
I think for her, the fact that her neighbor successfully sold her own
we
child.
need to get to that as well, because apparently there's an economy, there's a scheme, there's something that's happening around in certain areas of the country where they're successfully selling children.
Of course,
remember we have the baby factories.
We have baby factories. So a lot of things are illegal orphanages.
Yes.
Those are another things that are very rampant, where people just wake up and say they have orphanages and they keep children there, and people can come,
anybody,
and they have illegal
adoption, organ trafficking.
The cartel goes beyond this woman. This woman is even a vulnerable member of the society.
Very.
We should be looking at the cartel itself, because the people buying children from them are not mere men. They are people that are connected. So those are the kingpins that we need to find. Because if there's no market, where would they sell it to?
See, at the end of the day, she says it's economic hardship. Let's not lie. I went shopping yesterday. I told you ladies
Don't even go there.
Like
we know, but you see,
what I got for the amount of money I spent, and I haven't gone to the markets yet. This is just the ones I need to do in the grocery store or the supermarket. What happens when I go? And that's me here, who can still adjust a little bit.
I do. I feel
11 children to feed.
No,
I'm not. Because I know, because it felt like it was a hanging statement. No, I'm not excusing it. But we need to understand we're going to see a lot more of this.
Yes,
we're going to see people traffic their children a lot more. We're going to see people put their children, young girls particularly, into sexual exploitation because of this. So she wanted to sell them to send the oldest, who's 17, to school with the expectation that once that one comes out, she's going to start playing the black tap and become responsible for everybody else.
But is there any difference between this situation and then when they say, oh, I'm sending my children to go and do house girl, house boy? To go and stay with auntie in Lagos. It's the same thing now.
It's the same thing.
But would you not say that? I know that is illegal, sending underage children. But do you know that sometimes when you have this housemaid situation, at least, I'm not saying it's right by the law, but some children have actually turned out right, even in this terrible situation.
Lola,
I've seen people that
Lola, please,
their nannies and their households to school.
The stories of the evil ones are too many.
Yes,
I'm not more than the good ones.
You see, Lola is always trying to save the day. No, let's go to the next story.
Is it not better? Anyway, we have a lot of stories that can actually have all of us, you know,
You can divide us. That's the truth.
We will box on this set.
Honestly, we'll pull each other's hair because I want to slap some people across board, but I have to.
Her hand went like this.
Anyway, this next topic will douse the tension because this will make you laugh. They say, so an older man was flirting.
Have you not thought about the other one that I thought you'd be interested in that one?
When she said hair, I thought that's where she was going.
Exactly.
No.
I thought you'd be interested in that one because how can it be possible that a mother, a grandmother would shave her granddaughter's hair? I thought you'd be interested in that because you would say, what's wrong with that? Now, let's give it some context. A video went viral yesterday where a mother took to Instagram to express her shock of her daughter's new look after she picked her up from a weekend with the grandparents. Now in the video, she explains that her mother gave permission to her younger brother to shave off her daughter's hair without her knowledge, simply because the daughter's hair wasn't growing evenly. She had apparently already told her mother that she doesn't want to shave her daughter's hair, especially because her mom shaved hers, and it didn't make any difference with her own hair as her child.
This thing has happened in my family before.
But look at
my mother would never. My mother would never. However,
her grandma, your grandma.
That's why I was interested in Lola's take on this.
Honestly, I know, and it causes problems because you guys would never believe, but I am of the generation,
which means that what?
I'm a very new century grandmother to be.
I was going to.
Yes. Well, I would say I'm a grandmother because some of my adopted sons are already having children. There are some boundaries you don't cross.
It's an absolute
This
boundary.
one just... This is for me. That's the last time you're coming to
that child.
And any
that's the last time you're coming to
you only have supervised visitation.
So I think this hair thing is probably, that old school, old wives' tale about shaving their first hair. I know, I heard it as well. I called my husband, I said, guy, we're on the same page, right? He said, we're on the same page. I said, talk to your mother. I will talk to my mother. But you know what, let's be honest, it's not just hair. We can talk about it in 21st century, 2020, it's not just hair. I remember when my first sister was born, my mom told the story of how she had to run out of the house. My father has, again, I said traditional. They wanted to come and call her. For my sister, my grandmother on my father's side, she said she carried her daughter and ran.
Absolutely.
Because my dad was not around. You would not have agreed.
Really great.
Because I've heard about
stories like that. So where you dropped your child with your mother or parents-in-law, and you came back and they have put her.
And one walk
because that is the tradition. I will kill somebody.
That is different from.
No, I don't think it's different from, because you need to acknowledge that it is not your child. If I want to carry on this tradition, I will carry on the tradition. And a lot of parents made it clear they don't want. So they do it I want to
Codedly.
Codedly. I want to say
No, they do it codedly.
And you know, we hide, and then the parents hide behind the umbrella of respect. And because you're a child, you grow up in home training, you find it, you know, you are raving, but you cannot enter.
No, there's nothing like that too
much.
No. The fact, I don't have to be disrespectful to put you in your place.
No, but what you did is already done.
No, there's
That's
nothing
the problem. So you still need to be put in your place.
You will be put in your place. Say, Mom, I told you not to cut this girl's hair.
You're still speaking English. You went down
Mommy, exactly.
English does not carry the weight
she said.
of what you said.
Your grandchild would only have supervised visitation.
Honestly,
and after that,
yeah.
How about when your mother feeds your child? Have you heard of that? Which one? Where you're not around and your mother feeds your child breast milk.
No.
That's not my family.
It's okay.
You've not heard of that?
I've heard it, but
they can. Some mothers actually give their grandchildren their breast to for teething, to chew on.
It's okay.
To just placate your baby.
Kini Lolo.
No.
Why you
sounding like it's something you can do?
Yes, that she's happy about it.
Excuse you. 1-0.
I'm telling you that.
Excuse you?
That was it.
I am a Gen Z Nami purr. You forget I'm of the purr generation.
Guys, we need to go because we have to go, but we have a very, very special show coming up for you and a very, very special guest coming your way tomorrow. Fridays are our hot topic specials, and we do that with this guest. It will cause trouble tomorrow.
Wow, please, speaking pidgin. Savage.
When you see me on this set tomorrow, you'll know something's happening.
Nobody should dress over.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
you to our guests for being brave and fearless and bold with us on Jasiri this morning. We'll be back 10 a.m. West African time. Lola, you were saying?
Watch out for your dressing tomorrow. Everybody's going to come out. Shake me too. Let's all go.